Shalom, shalom. Just testing the mic.
I think you're breaking off. I'm like,
Just testing the mic. I think we should be good. Sounds good on here. All right, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. All right, just the brothers from Men of Valor coming back once again through the spirit and power of Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi for another Sabbath sanctuary episode. This one is entitled Faith and Miracles. Okay, Faith and Miracles, which, is the cornerstone, the foundation of, our, walk, right, is faith. Okay, as it says in the book of Hebrews, right? Without faith, it's impossible to please the Lord. Okay, and, in the times that we're living in, knowing, okay, this devil is coming down with that, great wrath. Okay, his technology, his miracles on the left-hand side that is, really setting up the stage for the Lord to show his miracles, on the right-hand side, right? And we hope to be those vessels of mercy that the Lord, uses in these times to show his power in. All right, but that all starts, with your faith that you have, okay? Because the Lord isn't going to deliver you if you don't believe in his power, right? He's not going to show his power, or wrought his power within you if you don't have that confidence in the Lord, right? As it says in the book of Hebrews, the 10th chapter, right? Whoever draws back his soul, roughly paraphrasing, his soul, will have no delight in him. And we could bring that out because I know I just butchered it, but nonetheless, we have this gospel is predicated and based off of the faith in the Lord, man. And as times get closer and closer to the, our temptation, to Jacob's trouble, your faith has to be at a heightened level, right? And things are going to happen in this world, right? Things are going to happen on the earth where your faith is going to be tested. But, if you continue to have that faith, then the Lord is actually going to elevate his, his power, within you or within your life to show that he's, with you. Okay, so, this isn't a time to be fearful, right? It's not a time to be afraid or timid, what this devil got planned, but rather to be excited, right? To be excited that, hey, we have this knowledge and this truth, and that, the Lord is about to, stretch out his hand that second time to deliver those that believe in him, so, whatever brothers got, you could just bring it out.
Yeah, kind of just wanted to bring out the word faith, being that it's the topic of the lesson today. All right, in the online etymology dictionary, it says faith is a noun, and it says faithfulness to a trust or promise, right? Which Lord willing, we're going to touch on that as well, right? Loyalty to a person. Okay, it says honesty, truthfulness. It says faith, belief, trust, confidence, pledge, right? Reliance, credence, belief. All right, to trust. Okay, to confide. All right. Here it says assent of the mind to the truth of a statement for which there is incomplete evidence. It says here especially belief in religious matters, right? But in this case, our faith is the evidence of things not seen, right? So ultimately, even though it's unseen to the world, it's something that we've seen in the spirit, It says again, confidence in a person or thing with reference to truthfulness or reliability. All right, a sworn oath. There you go. All right, so I'll leave it off there. Brothers can take off from there.
God, I wanted to highlight a point, that if it's better understood, it'll help us, grasp the message that we're trying to, bring out through this video. And it's pretty much for me the pattern that keeps repeating off in the scriptures. And the pattern a lot of times is that when the Most High begins to do something that is in the best interest of the nation of Israel, And initially it begins, and it begins small. And the reaction of those who chooses to oppose the Most High is usually what scoffs and mockery. And eventually, when what the Most High has begun begins to grow, right, and be fruitful and made manifest to the point where it's undeniable, then that scoff turns into hatred, and that hatred turns into frenzy. And now, everyone who opposes God turns their anger and their fury into what the bloodshed of those who are with the Lord. And so an example that I'm thinking of, I'm thinking of a lot of examples, but one that some of them are when we came out of Egypt, right? Initially, when Moses brought the message to Pharaoh, Pharaoh was scoffed, right? He would have his own wise men and magicians doing all these things, thinking that he's on par on the level of Yahawashi, and that he wasn't going to let the children of Israel go. But it wasn't until the Lord showed his power that he could not deny that the Lord wanted these people to leave. That's when he saw that this was a serious matter. He relents, but eventually he turns back. And like I said, mockery, frustration, frenzy, and he tries to kill the people of the Lord until the Lord, boom, steps in, stand and see the salvation of the Lord, and kills an entire army, and he dismantles kingdoms from that point on. Another example that I'm thinking of is during the ministry of Yahawashi. When Yahawashi was on the scene doing these works, people thought of it as it was nothing. It was just one man, a madman who was delusional, and he's just talking. It wasn't until eventually his work started to bear fruit. He started showing miracles. People started believing onto him, and then people got jealous of him. And they what mockery, frustrations, frenzy, they put him to death. And to the point where, the apostles had to hide. And the stages that I'm explaining right now is when the enemy becomes a madman, right, and he falls upon the children of God. Initially, it seems as though he is succeeding. That's why a lot of time great fear fall upon the men, like Elijah. He begins his work. It's no one believes in the Most High. He begins his work, calls down fire, and then what happens? Just when his work is about to bear fruit, they put a death threat on him and they want his head. So this pattern keeps repeating. And just like the apostles, when Yahawashi died, they thought the work that Yahawashi had done, they were hiding, to that point. They were very, very afraid, and all of them were hiding together. And the people of the world who opposed God, they thought that they were going to gain victory. But it wasn't until the Pentecost and the Spirit of the Lord entered into them, and then boom, the Lord did something that they thought impossible, which is the work that they thought that they had put to death had been revived, and now they couldn't do anything about it. And so this is the pattern that we keep seeing in the scriptures. And this is the same thing that's happening unto us, right? We have began a work. The Spirit of the Lord has entered into us, and a great exceeding army has stood up. Stand up in the name of Yahawashi, and we preach and proclaim the name of Yahawashi. Initially, it began with a small sanctuary. People laugh, people mock at it. And now we are throughout the four corners of the world. We have become a nuisance. And it's not a matter of time until a nuisance turns into hatred. And it's not a time until it turns into actually pulling their hands on us. And when that day comes, there's going to be, naturally, your human body is going to register fear. But because we're highlighting on faith, don't let your fear overcome your faith. You have to hold faith. You have to hold on to it, because everyone who ever served the Lord felt fear. But the faith that they had in Yahawashi to step up for their sake, did not waver despite the faith despite the fear that they feared. And so what happened? They kept at it, and eventually they were vindicated. Miracles started coming forth, and the will of the Lord trumped over the works of wicked men. So the same thing that happened then, the same thing will happen now. We're seeing Nero over there in power, passing all these things, doing all these things, coming upon against our northern brothers. It's not a matter of time until he gets angry, because they see that America is falling. The witchcraft that they used to have ain't working no more. The news that they have to make America look like good guys ain't working no more. The money isn't being valuable. Their military doesn't scare people anymore. Their power that they have is failing, and it's because of the spirit that the Lord has put into us to condemn this place. And it's not a matter of time until the scripture says, the enemy shall come in like a flood, right? And so at that point, that is why the scripture says what faith and miracles. When you have faith, you will provoke miracles, right? The devil will come in. It's going to seem like all hope is lost. But at that point, it's when faith will come in. That's when miracles, will be made manifest so that what we will triumph against our enemies. That's the pattern I wanted to highlight.
God, yeah, very good point. And I have a precept here, concerning that, because at the end of the day, when you consider faith, it really goes into like perception, right? And those that have, that faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi really have an altered perception to the world and how things work, and that allows you to keep, your mind stable when these different things come upon you. And it also allows you to elevate to that level at which they were able to perform these actions. And since you mentioned patterns, Ayash, another pattern that you'll notice here is, yes, from time to time, the human element, comes out in men, but something that is very prevalent also is the stability, pursuant to Isaiah 33:6. One person that comes to mind is Elisha, right? When you read about the acts of Elisha, seldom, if ever, do you read about him panicking or bugging out. And I'm talking about in the face of threats to his life, in the face of the death of like, who hears about somebody that you prophesied would have a child, they have the child and the child dies. And you hear about it and he doesn't bug out, he doesn't stress, he just literally says, sends his servant to go ahead of him, and he comes and takes care of business over there, right? So an example here to highlight that is 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 15. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. The man of God here being Elisha. His servant here was not Gehazi. This was after Gehazi was outed. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? Because he saw the armies and he was afraid. And once again, perception, right? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord Yahawah, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord Yahawah opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. And when they were come down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And that also makes me think of what Yahawashi said, right? About what you shall bound on earth shall be bound in heaven, and what basically having that authority, and that's something that understanding that by faith or through faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi, we have more power, than we even perceive. There are situations that you find yourself in, and the normal individual is through and through. Okay, but we actually have the option to say, yeah, I am so screwed right now. And then you remember, let me just pray. And all of a sudden, it's like you just overrode, the story, the timeline that says you're screwed. And now you have a chance. And you calm down instantly when you pray to the Lord. And it's almost like casting a righteous magic spell and just undoing the damage over there. And that's why the scriptures say faith is a gift, because this is a gift to us and not to everybody else. So I'm going to stop there. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a precept unless another brother had some. This is the book of Acts 4:13. And it reads, Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled, and they took knowledge of them that they had been with Yahawashi. So they saw the boldness because when you read in the previous chapter and the verses leading up to this, there was a miracle done upon a man who was crippled, a beggar. And basically it was a big stir about this happening. And when you read it in the NLT, it kind of gives you a little more clarity. It says, the members of the council were amazed when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, for they could see that they were ordinary men with no special training in the scriptures. And is not that what they say about us? You know, they look at us and they say, you know, these are just regular men. These men are not, you know, you didn't go to seminary school. You didn't go to a college for this. You got to have letters. You got to have documents. You got to be, you know, they say that we're not scholarly enough. But yet the Most High gave us, Yahweh Shem Yahawashi gave us the top knowledge at the end of the day. That alone is a miracle. We already see the manifestation of a miracle every day we wake up and praise the Lord's name. Every time we praise the names Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, that's a miracle. Because people look at us as the lowest of the low. They don't know that brothers actually have special talents, gifts, and things. But on the surface, it just looks like we're regular, ordinary men, which in a sense we are. But the Lord is what the Lord giving us this treasure in earthen vessels is what makes us special. So reading on, and beholding the man which was healed, standing with them, they can say nothing against it. Right? This is the evidence right in front of your face, because faith is the evidence of things not seen. So you believe in something that, like us believing in America, Babylon the Great being destroyed. That's an example of faith, because we haven't seen it yet, but we have faith that it's going to happen. But here it is, the faith in this situation, you have the healed man right in front of you. You see? So what kind of demon must you be to deny that? You know, that you have a healed man right in front of you saying, yeah, I'm healed. Through the name of Yahawashi, they healed me. Right? But this is what I wanted to get the point, right? It says, but when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves, right? So now they had a little private, you know, get together, a meeting, saying, what shall we do to these men? For that indeed a notable miracle hath been done by them, is manifest to all them that dwell in Jerusalem. And we cannot deny it. You see, they couldn't deny it. And that's how it's going to be in these last days. The way that the Lord is going to do miracles for his men, it's going to be things where it's just straight up undeniable. Right now, they can cast doubt, because right now people just look at it as just words, right? But we understand that these words that we're speaking from Yahweh Shem Yahawashi through the Spirit of the Lord, through the Rakak Wadash, these words actually have power. And through that power and through us continuing in this thing, actual, you know, beyond this miracle, other miracles are going to happen. Chariots are going to manifest. During famine, brothers are going to be fed. Spiritual power, you know, Vocab Malone mocked us and said, well, you know, they really believe they're going to go through tanks and this and that. Well, what do you think David was doing? Running through armies, man? You know, that's not nothing light. So again, but that's a man of no faith. But us having the gift of faith, we know and understand, yeah, these things are going to happen. We have the expectation of these things happening, man. It is just this last verse. It said, but that it spread no further among the people, let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in his name, right? You have other certain leaders in Israel. They try to teach us not to teach in the name Yahawashi. Oh, I scorn when I hear that name. We all know Bishop Nate said that, right? Right. So why does he say that? Because there is a real power in this name. And there was a time where even he himself was teaching. It ain't even about him, but just bringing up that example. And he's one of many that have that mentality of the name. You know, don't teach in that name. People actually, when you speak the name Yahawashi around people, you can see they get agitated. They don't know what to do. In the same way when we speak this truth, not saying that you should, because there's a level of wisdom, walk with wisdom towards those that are without. But yet, you know, when we speak this truth, let's say on the highways and hedges and people walk by, you can see their ears start perking up and they just don't know what to think of this, man. You know, they don't know whether they're interested, afraid, terrified, angered, confused. It's a mixture of emotions that this truth brings out. And this truth is the great divider. That's the beautiful thing about it. You know, but again, just bringing it all home, the miracles happened back then through the men of the Lord, through the disciples who became apostles, and the miracles are going to happen once again to the men that have the faith in the names of Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. You got it, Akim.
Hey, Khan, beautiful. I just wanted to add on to that, you know, because here in the book of Daniel, and we, are on the low level, or like in the position of Daniel, right? We're in a kingdom, right, that has authority over us that we're subjected to, right? But yet the Lord is still, with us, right? He's still dealing with us, right? He has revealed unto us, his secrets, right? He has imparted unto us his wisdom and knowledge, right? That pertaineth into these times that we're living in. Okay, and the fact that even Daniel, because when people think about miracles, right, and especially in this time period, in this age, a lot of times people praise the person that is doing the miracles rather than where the actual power comes from, right? That is why, even when it comes to Esau and his technology, right, he is being boasted and puffed up because everybody is praising him, as being some, such a great person. Okay, but when here reading the book of Daniel, the second chapter, starting at verse 23, right? It says, I thank thee, this is Daniel speaking, I thank thee and praise thee, O thou power of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter, right? And this is, just basically Daniel received the insight, right, of what Nebuchadnezzar's dream was, because Nebuchadnezzar put out a decree that all of the wise men, was in Babylon was to be destroyed because they couldn't tell him what his dream was and interpret it, right? And even the wise men said, nobody could do that, right? That's not something that's humanly possible for somebody to tell somebody else what their dream was, right? But what did Daniel do, right? Daniel inquired of the Lord, and the Lord, as he said, that he revealed the deep and secret things, right? So this, in essence, wasn't a miracle that was performed, that wasn't, overtly, through some type of showing, but it was through Daniel beseeching the Lord, right? And he revealed to him the king's matter. And that's, in essence, the position that we're in, because although we're not in those secret councils, Davos and these secret councils of the wicked that Esau is planning and plotting, through the wisdom and knowledge of the Lord, we have insight, and we know ultimately what this devil plans to do, right? We know, he's eventually going to come after this truth, right? He's going to bring out that charagma, all right, which is the which is the micro C hip, right? We know that he has all of these plans and these devices that are ultimately set up against us. And as even David said in the book of, in the book of Psalms 42, verse 6, it says, attend unto my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I, right? And that is the position that we're in, right? And the Lord put us in this position specifically so that he can do what? He can show his power, right? He can deliver us, just as when we were in the land of Egypt, right? The Lord had Pharaoh, right, and the Egyptians over us. He had him, harden his heart so that he wouldn't let us go, so that ultimately the Lord, I believe in the book of Romans, the 9th chapter, the Lord said what? For this same reason that I brought thee up, so that I may show my power in you. See? And just as King David said, he was brought very low. Daniel was in a position before this. He was brought very low because he was, a part of the wise men that were about to get killed. But what did he do? Right, and his faith in the Lord allowed him to be delivered from that, because he exercised that faith in the Lord. Right, he did what? He prayed unto the Lord, and the Lord heard him. So reading on, I'm going to jump to verse. Where is it? I'm going to jump to verse 30. It says, but as for me, this is again Daniel speaking, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thine heart. So Daniel was basically saying that it's not because of any, anything of his own wisdom or his own greatness that he was able to get this understanding. It was ultimately, through the power of the Lord, right? And that is why miracles happen, right? Because it is to show the power of the Lord, okay? And that is what we have faith in, for the fact that we, are making our bodies a living sacrifice, the fact that we are out here, chanting down Babylon the Great. We're telling Esau in his own kingdom that he's about to get, put into captivity, that a Babylon the Great, America is going to be destroyed. While you over here have Trump, the president, right, the king of Babylon, saying, America is coming into the golden age, right? Anybody that is against America, they're enemies. They want to get rid of anybody. They say he's saying all these things that's puffing up and putting the pride in that patriotic American spirit. And while we are here talking about the Lord destroying Babylon, so we're putting ourselves, because of the faith that we have, in a very, very dangerous position, which really the Lord is doing that for the purpose of what? Showing his power, for the purpose of that divine intervention, right? So, because even the Lord did that with Daniel, right? Because Daniel, he didn't even know at first what the decree was. The guy came, I can't pronounce his name. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. I'm gonna let Haran deal with that one.
What was the chapter verse?
Daniel 2:24. Ariok.
I think Ariok, yeah.
Ariok, okay. There you go.
Ariok.
Yeah, he came, basically, and was about to put Daniel to death. And Daniel was like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, what's this matter about, right? And he told him, he's like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna, give the interpretation. Let me just go pray to the one and only true living God. And he did that, and the Lord answered him, and then, he was able to be delivered. So also, I'll just go to the next chapter, right? Daniel, the 3rd chapter, one of my favorite chapters that shows the faith that is necessary in order for the Lord to work miracles on your behalf, right? Even in the face of death, you got to still maintain your integrity and maintain your faith. That's why Yahawashi said that, right? That be thou faithful until death, and I shall give thee a crown of life. Okay. Daniel chapter 3, I'm just going to go straight to the point. Verse, let's start at verse 15. It says, now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image that I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into a midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hand? And what I find interesting about this is I'm not too sure how much the time period, between the 2nd chapter and the 3rd chapter, but Nebuchadnezzar in the 2nd chapter tells Daniel, like, oh yeah, now your God is the God of gods. He's the Lord of all of all flesh. But then later he boasts himself against the Most High and said, well, who is this God that can deliver you out of my hands? Right. And now this is not an Edomite, which the Lord, we know that Esau got the heightened level of pride, far beyond all of these other heathens. So Esau, he knows the history that is in these scriptures, right? He went and checked the tape, as they say, right? He did the archaeological digs, right? He has the actual events, certain type of relics and things like that showcases the events of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But yet, what did Yuval Noah Harari say? That we can piss off the God of the Bible. And that's ultimately because of what? Because of the position that they're now in, because of their technology and because of their sorcery that they believe that is working with them, that they still believe that they can actually come up against the Most High. So Reading on, verse 16, it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said unto the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. Right. So now that was a faith narrative or a faith rhetoric that they just said, right? Because they didn't actually see the Most High deliver somebody out of a flame. I'm sure they've heard countless times. That wasn't the first time that this furnace was used, but at this point they said what? That we know that we have a God that can deliver us out of this fiery furnace. See? And it says, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. All right. And that ultimately, when you read the story, right, the Lord actually did deliver them out of the flame, and Yahawashi was there in the midst of them, as Nebuchadnezzar said, right? There was one that he see like the Son of Man, you see, and that's the position that we have, in this time right now, right? We have that mindset that the Lord is going to perform these type of miracles that's going to even bug out the ones that come up against us, right? That they're not even going to, have any answer or understanding on how this is taking place. It's going to pass, the scientific realm that Esau loves to try to, talk away supernatural things in, right? He tries to use science and technology to try to make the Lord's miracles something that is not really an actual miracle. But as it says in the book of Sirach, that the Lord is going to show new signs and wonders, but I'll let another brother get it.
John, I think even when you read the scriptures about the man that was troubled by like demons, and they will say, well, that's just epilepsy, we can treat that, we can do all these things. So they do some shit like that. They always trying to make it seem as though spirituality is mythical, right? I think even now, whenever they talk about the Bible, they use Christian myth. They start saying Christian myth, just like they'll say Greek mythology or anything like that. They start using that for the Bible now. So really, spirituality is dead to this place. And that's why the brother was saying, the only thing, it's a gift for you to have to believe in these miracles, because this man, if, he really can do a lot of things with his knowledge. I'm talking about I think I read an article where some dude got into a car accident. He almost got decapitated, and they put that back on, it blew everybody's mind, and they were able to do that. They could reverse blindness. They could take a heart from a dead person, put it in here, electrify that shit, makes it pumping and pump it back in you. I mean, all kinds of shit. And then, we know it's all witchcraft, but he presents it in a way that's not witchcraft. So, witchcraft is it's only certain people can do magic, but this time everybody can do it. So it's not magic. We'll teach you how to do it. And they use scientific words, big ass words that really it's fucking witchcraft. But niggas out here, they don't look up words. They just hear the words. Oh, that's a scientific word. No, man, that's some dumbass witchcraft words. I think last time they talked about the word Rite Aid on a drugstore. The word right literally means ritual. So why would you use that word? Why not just say healing aid? They use these things, and it just makes it sound. They have a way of deceiving people, and having witchcraft right in your face, and then you look at it, oh, it's not that bad. It's not something that's just part of regular life, and then that's how far the Most High has allowed this devil to go. He has gone very, very far. And so the scripture was not kidding when he said he shall deceive the whole world. The things that he do now, if he did it back then, he would be a witch. They would be called a magician, or but in today, we look at it like it's nothing. And then they look at the men of the Lord like they're weird, so that's it.
Khan, I just wanted to add real quick, beautiful point you just made, and going to the scriptures. I think we might have been talking about it in one of our Bible studies, where if you've seen somebody that had demons on them and they were talking to themselves. You know, we see that out and about every day, especially, you know, you live in a big city like New York, you know, niggas is talking to themselves all day long, right? You know, looking back, seeing someone talking to another person over here, fighting the air, whatever. But in the scriptures, right, it would say what? Oh, he's tormented with demons, right? He's tormented. And when you actually look at somebody like that, like they look tormented, right? They look like their physical bodies are being like drained, and it's like a non-stop, just a inward fight that's going on within them. And what Esau does is prescribes them what they call drugs. Now, as you just mentioned, and we always talk about, when you go into the word pharmacy, right, and the word pharmakia, it means sorcery, right? It means sorcery. So he actually has made, which the pharmaceutical business is the #1 most lucrative business in the entire world, right? By far. So that means that witchcraft is the most lucrative business that Esau has throughout the whole entire world. And all he did was just change the name from witchcraft to pharmacy, but it's still the same thing. And that's why, you know, as our apostles and elders have taught us, when you go into words, right, it actually breaks down that veil, as the scripture says, the covering cast that this devil put upon the whole world. Because now, when you actually look at these drugs and these things, you see the side effects of them. Well, the side effects is just another demon that you're just putting on people. And that's all you're doing. You're just taking one demon and suppressing that demon by putting another demon on them. And then now you got a problem with this demon that's on you. So you need to take another sorcery to mitigate that demon. And then all of a sudden you find yourself taking 6, 7, 8 pills. And then now your whole body's just shutting down. You got too many demons inside of you. You know, but that's when I had that.
Hey, Khan, that's beautiful points, man. Bringing it all home. The Lord YAHAWAH. And if brothers don't got no points, maybe we could jump into the book of Hebrews, 11th chapter. All right. That's how they say?
No, I was giving a thumbs up.
Okay, Khan. All right. So this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, and verse 1. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith, Abel...
So my bad. I just wanted to add real quick, right? It says by it, the elders obtain a good report, right? And that's the things that we read, you know, our righteous forefathers who we read about now, right? And when you actually look at it, we, Lord willing, are those, you know, if we're a part of that number, we're the elect in the kingdom. We're also going to obtain a good report because of the faith that we had in this time, in this last age, and in the end of this world, right? Where faith is going to be at its highest necessity, right? And I think we were talking about it before. This time that we're living in is a time where faith is needed the most, right? Because as we just said, how this devil went and deceived the whole world, right? They made the scriptures in people's mind as if it's some, you know, fairy tale book, or it's not really, you know, the events didn't really happen, things like that. Although the elites actually know it, but it's we've been so detached from our culture and our history. It is only by the faith that we have in Yahawashi, which is a gift that brought us back to this knowledge, but brought us back into this to this hope. Right. So if we, Lord willing, once again, you know, make it through that transitioning from this final exodus into the kingdom, we're going to have a good report that, oh, these are the men, right, in the few sisters that kept the faith in these last days, kept the faith against the beast and against his image and against his mark. As it says in Revelation, those that had the victory over the beast in his image and his mark. You know, if we're those people, we were already written about right? John already saw us and he already wrote about us. That's why even Ezra said, then I commended them greatly who stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. So we have obtained a good report, Lord willing, from the foundation of the earth. We're just, through our faith, playing it out right now.
God, just wanted to add to that too. When you go into the word report, one of the definitions here, which is pretty interesting, is you have like the angle on your side, right, which is like the reputation, right, the reputation of having that faith, which we have today, right. There's a precept in the book of Sirach that says, "Let us now praise famous men," and a lot of those men gained that reputation by the faith that they had. So what the definition here for report is, it says here, to be a witness, to bear witness, i.e. to affirm that one has seen or heard or experienced something, or that he knows it because taught by divine revelation or inspiration. And what that made me think about too was that because the elders, like let's say for example, we take the apostles, right? In our time now, because they had faith, they were actually able to experience the or bear witness to some of the things that they then reported down to us, because those that didn't have the faith weren't able to gain that access, to be able to see Yahawashi for who he was, to be able to walk with Yahawashi, and then have that have that report, right? Because there's a scripture where I think it's in the book of Peter, but he says we have not roughly paraphrasing, like our testimony is not that of like fables or something that we made up, but we have been eyewitnesses to the Lord's like miracles and X, Y, and Z. So likening that onto us, because of the faith we have, we actually have the privilege to experience and see the unknown, right? And see the inner workings of the Lord because we have that faith, so that's just another angle that I thought about it from on that verse.
Come. Beautiful. So continuing Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 4, it says, by faith Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, the Most High testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because the Most High had translated him. For before his translation he had his testimony that he pleased the Most High. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is Yahweh, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith Noah, being warned of the Most High of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world, and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
Let's go say real quick on that verse about why it's impossible to please the Most High without faith, is because when you look at especially like the labor you can put, or the burden of the prophets, right, and some of the things they had to do, a lot of it was based on faith, right? And in order for them to successfully serve the Lord, some of the requests that he would ask you to do, you have to really step out on faith in order to do those things, and so if you don't have faith, like the elder quoted earlier, that precept, if any man draw back, right, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. So if the Lord says, like Moses, for example, when they were put before the Red Sea, right, the Gulf of Suez, and the Lord says, point your staff over there, and part that water, that body of water in half. Without faith, Moses wouldn't have been able to do that, right? And he wouldn't have been a servant that pleased the Lord, because the Lord is pleased by those that obey him. And those that obey him have to have faith, because if they don't, then their fear overrides that faith, right? Even one example is Peter and Yahawashi. Peter had faith, and though he started to sink, you know, he still had the faith to go on that water, right, and take those few steps over there. So if the Lord says, yo, jump off of this building in Jacob's trouble, and you're like, Lord, I don't know, I've never, you know what I'm saying? Then you might end up hesitating, and you might piss the Lord off, and you might get pushed off of it, and then you might break some bones, you know? So you got to actually literally like step out on faith, you know, and just be like Job, you know what I'm saying? Even if I die, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I'd rather die having faith than to live faithless.
Yeah, I got a precept for you on the Moses point. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 13. It says, "And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord Yahweh, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them no more." Right? The Lord Yahweh shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So, like you were saying, you know, when you read that statement, it sounds as though like you really, really had faith. So before this, he had already done that. He just, watch what's about to happen. And that's the point that you're bringing out here, the faith, you know.
Done. Any brother got something to say?
Yeah, I had a precept as well. This is the book of Sirach, 34. It is in the GNT, right? Sirach 36 and 4. You have used us to show them, and the them is talking about the other nations. You have used us to show them how holy you are. And now, Salakia, now use them to show us how great you are. Let them learn as we have learned that there is no God, O Lord, but you. So the Lord is going to do these miracles and these masterful wonders he's about to show the earth so that he can be magnified, man. And so that his name can be magnified, because we already know how the Lord gets down. We're already very well acquainted with Yahweh Hashem Yahawashi's nature by reading it in the scriptures. You know, the Lord goes throughout the scriptures like the boss that he is, and he's declaring, I'm gonna take this nation down, I'm gonna bring this nation up, this ruler's gonna get taken out, this ruler's gonna be installed, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then he'll start talking 2,000 years later, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and then he'll go back to what he's talking about now, and that's just how the Most High gets down. But getting to the point, all right, I'll read it again. Let them learn as we have learned that there is no God, O Lord, but you. So we have learned it, and we believe through faith, that beautiful gift of faith that the Lord gave us. But yet, there's going to come a time where the rest of these people, they're going to learn about the nature of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahawashi, and they're going to learn about it by these grievous judgments he's bringing. These are all going to be examples of miracles. There's healing miracles, and there's going to be destructive miracles too. To destroy a whole continent by fire in an instant, in a matter of about an hour, that's a miracle right there, man. So by those things, the nations are going to see the glory of the Lord. It says, give new signs, perform new miracles, show us your glorious strength. Yeah, new signs, new miracles. We're going to have miracles and signs that's never been seen before. And that says a lot, because the Most High has done some things, man. When you go into history of how Yahweh Hashem Yahawashi has got down, parted the Red Sea, killed 185,000 of the Assyrian hosts. Those are all things that were done by faith. You have Moses, you know, it was men of faith that the Lord was using. So in a few verses up, it mentioned that the Lord use us to show how holy you are. So the Lord has been using us and is going to continue to use us to show how holy he is. All right. In the time of Hezekiah, you had that example where they were in a dire position, and they had to, like the brother Bukhar just said, they had to step out on faith. There was that moment where it wasn't certain, man, we might just lose. We might just be taken down right now. But we got to step out on faith, trust in the Lord. And the Lord said he's going to defend this city for his servant David's sake. And I'm gonna just read this one more verse. Bring on that appointed time when everyone can talk about the great things you do. Because we always talk about the great things the Lord does, but we want the people in this world to have to acknowledge it, because they're able to just walk around and act like the Most High ain't even there, man. I sent brothers that clip of the guy. He was missing an eye, and he was basically it was on Humans of New York on social media, and the dude had like a poem like basically, what if the Most High just went on strike? What if the Most High just pulled back all of the miracles that he does every single day to just make life possible? Think about it. The sun, that's a miracle. The sun, a giant ball of fire that comes in the sky and keeps us all warm and nourishes all life. That's a miracle in and of itself. The moon to give and dictate times, and then it turns red and turns different colors and shows different signs depending on what the Lord is about to do. These are all miraculous things. The wind, the water, different animals and herbs. This is all miraculous that this is even possible. So imagine if the Most High just for one moment said he's going to pull back. Everything will perish in an instant. So we want these people to acknowledge Yahawah Hashem Yahawashi. And the only way that's going to happen is through these judgments. I'm gonna just finish with this verse. It says, "Pour out your furious, flaming anger, and let none of our enemies survive. Destroy those who have oppressed your people. Crush all those enemy rulers who think they are the only people in the world who matter. And that's dealing with the elites, these other nations. They think that they're the only one. Like, look at Trump. Like whatever he says has to go, and if you ain't with it, then they're gonna bring death to you. But on the flip side, that's how Yahawah Hashem Yahawashi is gonna be. Gather the tribes of Israel together again and give them back their land as you gave it to them long ago. And that's the elect. The elect is being gathered up now, and they're gonna be gathered up when Yahawashi returns. All right, New Jerusalem. All right, but that's it. To you, Akim.
God. Beautiful. So continuing back in Hebrews, the 11th chapter, verse 8, it says, "By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed. And he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith."
I was gonna say real quick, and the Hebrews 11th chapter is a very good and important chapter, and all these examples that we're going into and bringing out, the point is to boost up your faith and exhort you to remember these things, right? To keep you going in these times, because we're gonna see things that we've never seen before on the left hand, but also on the right hand side, right? The greater the trouble, the greater the deliverance. And so these things are to keep it into your mind to say, yo, I'm faced with X, Y, and Z, but heck, Moses went through this. Yahawashi went through this. This person went through this. The three holy children were about to be burned to death. And my situation is not that big of a deal compared to that, but they stood firm. So I can also stand firm. And it's like logical faith. 1 + 1 is 2. They stood firm and believed in the Lord in the face of danger, and the miracle happened. The Lord divine intervention happened, right? Well, if I'm in a position here and I do the same thing and I believe myself to be a servant of the Lord, then the Lord has to come through, especially because I put his name out there, right? And that's one thing that the Lord always values is his name. So the Lord's name is plastered everywhere. We've made sure that, everything we say, the Yahawah Hashem Yahawashi, you just try, the Lord gonna come through. So how does the Lord look saying, yeah, I said that you should put my name out there and something happens, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm falling back. You almost force his hand to have to step in. So the point of this is to put it into your mind to say, hey, these things happened before, but we're gonna need to show an even greater level of faith now because we're not accustomed to living in a world of spirituality. The carnality is this high, the spirituality is this low. So you need to take an even bigger step now, having coming back to the Lord and coming back to this faith in these times that we are in.
Hey, Con, I got a quick precept. The book of St. John, chapter 14, verse 29. So Yahawashi says, actually, I'm gonna start at 27. It says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Right. And as it says in First John, that perfect love casteth out fear. Right. When you have that perfect love for Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi, then you're not going to be afraid or fearful of any of the obstacles or situations or trials that are in front of you, right? Even death, because we know that we serve a power that, has power over death, right? So reading on, it says, ye have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If ye loved me, ye would rejoice, because I said, I go unto the Father, for my Father is greater than I, right? And the fact that Yahawashi, is at the right hand of the Creator, okay, and we know that He came for, for His elect, and He's coming back to deliver His elect. We should be rejoicing in these times because we know that, as even the 7th as the 9th chapter, part of these signs have passed, right? Part of the things that the Lord said to look out for has happened or are happening. So that in itself is an indication that, okay, well, if some of these signs came to pass, then it only makes sense, right? It's only practical logic that the rest of these signs are going to come to pass. And then if the rest of these signs come to pass, well, then we have an expected end, right? Jeremiah 29:11. The Lord has given us an expected end. He didn't leave this story as an open-ended or a to be continued. The to be continued is in the kingdom where we get salvation. But we know how this end of this age happens. That's why the disciples asked them, tell us what shall be at the end of the world, right? Verse 29, it says, and now I have told you before it comes to pass, that when it come to pass, ye might believe. See, so now even King David said it, right? I believe, therefore have I spoken, and I was greatly offended. So these things have taken place. The Lord said that these things were going to happen. That's why we can talk about, the demonization and the persecution without being afraid or without being so, mad that we're getting demonized or we're getting lied on, right? Because, nobody likes being lied on, right? If somebody you dealing with, like a coworker or somebody's lying on you, you're going to get upset. But we're dealing with the actual ruler of this age, ruler of this world. He's literally going to be lying on us, but we're not upset about it because we understand how that plays out. We understand how that ends. And if you really truly believe on that, because you're going to have certain people that really didn't believe on it, right? So when they do get persecuted, when they do get demonized, and Yahawashi spoke about it, you're going to have brothers that betray one another, right? You're going to have men that draw back. They're going to, not keep that faith or stay steadfast. But if you actually truly believe what the Lord said He was going to do and how this is going to play out, then you should be confident that everything that we're leading up into is all going to work for our good, as Paul said, right? That's why, Paul even said it, like, I'm ready to be offered, right? What is that in Acts? What does it mean for that ye weep, that you break my heart? Don't you know I'm ready to, be in bound or even die at Jerusalem for the name of the Lord's sake? Because Paul knew that even if he died, there was a crown waiting for him, right? There was the faith of being resurrected, because Yahawashi got resurrected, right? The disciples, they counted themselves a blessing, right, to be worthy to be beat or scourged for the name of the Lord, because there was a reward that was attached to that. And that's the beautiful thing about being in this faith, that as we read in the chapter verse above, the Lord is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. It's not as if the Lord is just saying, all right, I'm about to just put you through all that. And he could, right? Lord could have said that, I'm just going to put you through all this and that's it. And you would just have to still play that role, because who can resist his will? But rather the Lord said, nah, I'm going to put you through all this, and I'm going to actually bless you with something that is even so far greater that what you went through can't even be compared to the glory that I'm going to give you. You see? And that is the actual, and all of these stories and the things that we're reading, all of those are examples of how the Lord showed the reward for the faith. And we're living in a time where, it even says it in this chapter, they all had faith, but they didn't receive the actual promise that we all are looking for, that we've all been waiting for. We're living in an actual time that promise is about to be manifested. There's no, this is what we all been waiting for from the beginning, man. It's like if you play a sport, and from off season, you do all the training, then you go to training camp, you go through all, the 2 days, you go through all of the weeks of, the games, all the way up until this day that's coming up. It's like you've been waiting. It's funny because Super Bowl is coming up, but you've been waiting for this moment right here, right? And that's what you even see, and that's a corruptible crown, because you see even people, the players at the Super Bowl, they'll be emotional, they're crying. They're doing, they got a big ass 300-pound man over here crying about a fucking Lombardi trophy, right? So you could only imagine how much more for us, Lord willing, when we get those incorruptible crowns, man. The Lord gonna have to tell you, relax, it's okay. Like, nah. You can't even say you can't even say you don't understand, because you do understand, but it's gonna be something, man. And that's all because of the faith that we had.
Hey, that faith, man, faith is definitely a confidence that only the elect have. Really, is a gift, but it's really confidence, because how can you believe in something that you haven't seen or heard? Like you just believe it. That's confidence. That's true definition of confidence. I confide in that promise. Like I believe it wholeheartedly. Like the Apostle Paul said, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Right. So you have to be fully persuaded, as in I have faith in something that the world does not even think exists. Like when I mention it to somebody in the world, they look at me like I'm crazy. And that's also evidence that we're not from here. Like Yahawashi said, we're in this place, but we're in this world, but not of this world. You see, so our language, the way we speak, the way we see things, the way we understand things is completely different from the way the world sees things, because they lack that one virtue, that one commodity, which is the most important commodity, which is faith. And that's synonymous with what? Patience. All right. But I want to get a quick precept going back to the Zaquan, the point you made, backing up the point that the brother Bakar made, right? In the book of Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 19, it says, but when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak, right? And that's the faith. Again, we're believing that, okay, when we get there, we don't have to make any preparations, because it's going to be null and void. You might prepare for one question, they might hit you with another question that you never prepared for. Now what? Right? Now you're standing there looking like Fauci trying to argue the question. No, you already got cooked. It's over with. But if you keep your faith in the Lord, no matter what they say, you're not prepared. But every question they have, you have such a profound and adequate answer that they get confounded. Like shit, I should have probably not asked that question, because then he's saying things that we probably wouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? So now they get confounded, looking at each other. Yo, what you got a question for me? Go ahead. And they get cooked. But it brings me back to this point. Zaquan, I brought I think you brought it out in the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, or is it the 3rd chapter, about Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, the 3rd chapter, right? And you read a verse where I believe it was when they gave the response to the king, right? He said, making it known unto thee. In other words, nigga, we're making it clear to you right now that we're not going to bow down to your gods or all that shit that you have set up. We're making it abundantly clear to you that we're not going to serve your shit. So whatever you're going to do, go ahead and do it. And guess what? Our power is going to deliver us from the snares that you've set up. And even if he doesn't, we're still not going to bow down to you. So do you finally understand what we're saying to you now? And that's some gangster shit, but that's faith. That's the confidence that we have in the Lord, that no matter what, as long as we call upon him in a time of trouble, he will deliver us, because he already told us. He already told us, and we've seen the evidence. We've seen the men of old and what they've been through when they exhibited the same amount of faith that we're exhibiting now. Shit, they went through worse things than some of the things that we go through, and their faith is what we look at and say, yo, you know what? Like Bakar said, yo, Elisha went through this, Ezekiel went through this, Isaiah went through this, Amos went through this, right? Ezra went through this, Moses went through this. All these men, Yahawashi went through this, But the fact that he passed it, we also gonna pass, right? Quick precept is a book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord, right? Synonymous with faith, okay? And was confounded, meaning calamities came upon them, or they were destroyed, or they were completely, utterly dismantled? No, right? It says, or did any abide in his fear, which is synonymous with wisdom, okay? Because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge and understanding, right? So once you fear the Lord, you're automatically going to have that. He's going to start giving you the sweet understanding, which is that wisdom. Ultimately, you get it all, right? But it comes in from milk to meat and so on and so forth, right? So it says, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken, right? Look at Joseph. Look at Daniel in the lion's den, right? All these different events that we always go back to, right? To remind us of how close the Lord is with us, right? Joshua, imagine having to lead these annoying ass people after Moses had left. Look at all the hell that Moses went through. And you young, as a young man coming up, and then you seeing all this as you're growing, and you see, damn, like 40 years. And now I got to lead these people into a promised land. Lord have mercy. These people, I've seen what they've done. I've seen how much they pissed off the Lord for 40 years, to the point where he had to wipe them all out. And now I got to lead them and their offspring. Shit. But then what did the Lord say? Don't fear none of that. You're going to go to war. You're going to beat up on these people. Just don't fear none of that. Right? Keep your faith in me, because I'm with you whithersoever thou goest. Always remember that. Of course, Joshua, there's times where he felt lonely, because it's just him and Caleb that came from the old generation. So now you got a whole new people. You got to teach them mad different things. Of course, they saw certain things in the wilderness, but you're going to a whole new land. You got to build up that confidence, like, yo, the Lord is with us. Let's go handle business. And ultimately that's what happened, right? It says, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Okay. For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in time of affliction. Okay. So ultimately, like Ayash, you were saying that these people get to a frenzy. What are they going to do? They're going to come and afflict the men of the Lord, right? It tells you in 2nd Ezra, right, the 16th chapter, about they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but what? Still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Okay, so those of us, we're gonna have a resistance, and just like every other empire, right? You have the people that conspire against the men of the Lord, and then they send it up to the king who's normally oblivious to all this shit, and then they put in his ear, oh, look, that's what do it. If you don't allow, if you don't stop this, then all the plans you talking about golden age. Well, these Hebrew Israelites are going to be the reason why your golden age is never going to happen. We got to do something about this. You're going to have Jonathan Greenblatt, head of the ADL, going to pull up, with vocab. Well, what do you have on them? I know you've been studying them for years. What are they saying? What are they really doing? Bring it up to Trump, and then, anti-Semitism. What are we going to do? Oh, Trump, and then you're going to see some shit, But all these so-called great kings of the past, there was a time where they had to go through the Israelites. Like the Israelites are our problem. So we know where we stand when it comes to these devils, man. Our history and our past shows it. And if the scripture says there's no new thing under the sun, and we're doing the same exact thing that provoked them to come after us, what do you think is going to happen next? See, that's why Isaiah 59:19 is written. That's also going into faith. You see? And that's the miracles, the Lord setting up that standard. That's all part of the faith, because it's the faith that we have that's going to provoke that, right? It says, and saveth in time of affliction. See, Daniel, the 12th chapter. Okay. So we know all these things that's going to happen, man. We understand the will of the Heavenly Father, and that's why we have the attitude of, we're just servants of the Lord. However he wants to play with us, we're going to go with it, like Johnny Cash song, he said, if these wings don't fail me, Lord, I'll meet you anywhere. You know? So, Lord, you sent me, hey, give me the body, give me the legs, and give me the mindset to follow through and just show me where I gotta go, and I'll be there. That's faith. I don't care about what anybody says. But how you gonna walk to a place you don't know? Or what if something happens? Last time the other guy went over there, he died. You gonna go the same way that the nigga? Guess what? I have faith that the Lord says, this is where I want you to go. I'm gonna go. Right? Abraham did the same thing when the Lord sent him to go sacrifice Isaac on the mount. I think it was Moriah, right? Isaac said, Lord, Father, where's the stuff? What are we going to use for the sacrifice? He said, don't worry, let's go. The Lord is going to provide. Hey, the Lord's going to provide? What? We got to make a sacrifice. Where's the ram? What are you talking about? He said, don't worry, the Lord will provide. Okay, let's go. And he told the other people who were following, he said, you stay right here. Me and Isaac going to go do a sacrifice to the Lord. And then you going to get there. He said, the sacrifice your son. You going to sacrifice your son. Hey, Lord, you made me travel all the way here. Sarah's going to bug out. I'm going to sacrifice him. Lord, what am I going to say when I get back home? You see, what man is going to be in that kind of situation and actually pass that test? Well, a man of the Lord who has extreme amounts of faith in Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi. See? But you got it, bro.
Now, I was gonna add, how you're saying that you gotta be like unrelenting when it comes to your faith. I'm thinking of an analogy, and it's funny, right? If a man who has a good job, if he goes out in the street, he's doing his job, he has a really good job, he's getting paid good. He goes out in the street, he meets a bum, and the bum be like, "Ha, you job, nigga, you got a job doing all this shit." It doesn't make sense for the man to quit his job and be a bum like that guy. You know what I'm saying? And the scripture talks about the book of Ecclesiastes that the whole duty of man is to fear God and follow his commandments, which requires faith to take on these roles, right? And so just like Yahawashi said, to buy of him, and if you're not doing his work, you are poor. You're sort of like, you don't want to be those bumps. You want to be rich in faith. Because of your faith, you want to be rich. So the point that you're making here is that, like, anybody who has a job won't allow a bum to laugh at them at having a job. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't make sense. You would just be like, get that bullshit out of here. I'm gonna go home, sleep in the heater, do all this shit, and you be out here in the cold, you fucking bum. So the same idea that you gotta have that what do you call it? That see the world, through that kind of lens. You will be the person who has a purpose because you're doing the will of the Heavenly Father, and you are rich in spirit. And these world people out there are dead. They have no purpose. They are just a bunch of fucking zombies walking around, and they're making fun of you for doing something that brings purpose and good, right? Because through us, all the nations shall benefit from that. So it doesn't make sense for you to cast your faith just so you can be accepted of them and be part of them, So that's pretty much the analogy that pops in my head when you kept talking about, I don't care what they think. That's just it,
Yeah, I got a quick precept of Wisdom of Solomon 3, verse 21. It says, start at 20, it says, let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own sayings he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. And that's the position of, the majority of this world that lacks faith, right? That were deceived, that are deceived by, the power of darkness, right, that Esau uses, right? Their own wickedness blinds them. I believe also in 2 Corinthians, the fourth chapter, Paul spoke about that, right? That the God of this world has blinded them so that the glorious light of the gospel of Yahawashi shouldn't shine upon them. So because it's like the what's that saying go? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, right? For us who have the light to see, we actually can see what's going on in the world while everybody else, is blinded. So it's like you telling a blind person, right, that, hey, don't walk there because there's a ditch, there's a big ass ditch that you're about to fall into. And they're looking at you like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You crazy. You can't see shit. But there's a blind person telling you that you can't see nothing, right? And that's how it is, for people that come up against us in the truth, right? Because what are the prophets also called? They're called seers. We're able to see afar off, right? A watchman has a better line of sight than somebody that's on the ground. So it would behoove, that's why the Lord always sent the prophets as compassion. It would behoove, the people to pay attention to what the words of the watchmen and the prophets are saying. But as the scripture says, they misuse the prophets. But reading on, it says, as for the mysteries of the Most High, they knew them not, which is once again a blessing, right? That's a gift that the Lord gave us, the ability to have the mysteries, right? To understand the mysteries, the dark sayings, the parables, the prophecies, right? And that's all through what? The grace and the mercy and the faith that the Lord has given us, which once again is a gift. And that's something that you can never, ever take for granted, man. Can never take for granted the fact that the Lord even gave you faith. That's something to even thank the Lord for, because it's evident how you can see people that don't have faith. And as we get closer and closer until the hour of temptation and to Jacob's trouble, people are about to be moving based off of the lack of faith that they have. And then it's going to get to the point where the movements that you make are going to lead to your death. It's not going to just be, oh, okay, I did this and oh no, I can just correct that mistake. No, your moves are now going to be moves that are going to be very, very detrimental to your well-being and your safety and your health, right? So it says, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a rewarder for blameless souls. See, Salakia, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. So there is a reward for being, blameless, which the only way you can be blameless is to be what? Abiding in the body of Yahawashi, because that is the one that can present you faultless and blameless before the throne. But there's a reward for that, and if we got to go through a straight gate, we got to go through a trial and the mockery and all these things for that reward, then once again, so be it. That's a very, very light thing, that we have to, encounter and endure in order to receive that reward that the Lord has for us. But you got it.
I want to say one last thing, which was, since you mentioned that, Haran, I've just been thinking about it, about especially with like the DJT in office, aka Nero, right? I wouldn't be surprised if one day, you see like you said, the what was that SPL, Southern Poverty Law Center, or ADL, or even vocab on there, whether he's the second you see him on there, because he has that spirit of Haman, of like being able to find a way to sneak his way up there. And, Trump seems like the guy who won't shy away from actually calling out the group or the term name for name, word for word, and just out there, straight up. He's like a straight shooter kind of thing, so I definitely wouldn't be surprised if at one point in the future you see this, when it comes time for their campaign against the anti-Semitism, to see this guy over there, giving his talks and all those things there.
That's actually the spirit that you said that, because Trump actually he signed, or he's going to sign no, he already did it, because one guy that I follow, he applied for an application, but he basically, Trump made a program for alternative media to actually interview him instead of like regular media outlets at his at his speeches or whatever. Instead of it being like Fox News and the regular, mainstream media, he's allowing alternative media people to come and actually record, like, whatever the media got people do. But that also goes with questions as well. So they're allowed to ask him questions. So who knows? You could have vocab Haman Malone, end up there, and then him saying, there's a lot of, extremists, and particularly of the Hebrew Israelite sect, which is funny that you mentioned that, because I actually had Esther pulled up, so I'm just going to read it. Esther chapter 3 verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people and in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws, Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. So, vocab could very well have that platform and be able to say something to that effect, that you got these individuals, you're talking about people that are hateful, talking about people that are against, the 48ers. Well, don't you know that there's a growing number of Hebrew Israelite cultists, right? The Hebrew Israelisms that are within America that is spreading is the fastest domestic, because remember, he brought out all these things, right? It's the fastest domestic religion that's growing within America. So, what do you plan to do about these people? What do you plan to do about this? Because it's a very dangerous sentiment that could potentially be out there, and that could, as you just said, lead to the way of another executive order that he signs, and that becomes now the demonization. Because once again, we've been talking about this, starting with the elders and apostles for decades. There's eventually comes a point where it's no longer a thing that we're talking about, right? Just like with any of the situations that the Lord has put the men of old in, they were forewarned of it. Just like how with Noah, he was forewarned of the destruction, but eventually that day came. Okay, so you have to be understanding that day is going to come. That has to be in your mind. And if you're not fully persuaded, and if you're not fully down for this truth, that doesn't mean the Lord going to say, okay, well, all right, you wasn't really with it, so I'm just going to just skip over you. No, you're still going to have to deal with it. But now you have to deal with it with the Lord not defending you, as he says in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, because you didn't keep the word of his patience at the most crucial point.
Yeah, they just now this is going around where he said that the U.S. is gonna own the Gaza Strip, and a lot of people are like, oh shoot, and like once again, right, this is something that he just came in office less than a month, right, and then boom, 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 and I said this before, that whole Operation Warp Speed that he said, it's really manifesting now that he's in there. He's moving very, very quickly. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised with the way he talks. If he gets asked a question like that about the Hebrew Israelism and so on, and I'll tell you this, we will not support and he might just say that, and anybody that is pushing that hate and anti stuff will be dealt with, and then just next thing you know, there's an executive order out. Because they did something similar in Georgia, right? They banned certain parts of the Bible. Was it Georgia? I think it was somewhere in the U.S., one of those states. Yeah.
Hey, I got a quick precept here, tying into what the elder brought out. This is the additions to Esther, the 4th chapter. It says, and this is a very likely scenario that we could possibly see very soon, right? Because there's no new thing under the sun, right? Again, they're setting up for a so-called New World Order. But there's one thing or one people that are still standing in their way. Because I think, Zaquan, you mentioned it, how we're contrary to what they're saying, right? Here it is that Trump is preaching a golden age, right? A dawn of a new era, all this bullshit. And then here it is, we're telling them, well, the Most High is about to destroy you. This is it. You see all the shit that's going down? It's not an opportunity to rebuild. It's actually the declaration of your end. As is written, as is said and written, what the writing is on the wall, And I got you, Ayash. It says here, the copy of the letters was this: the great king Artaxerxes writeth these things to the princes and governors that are under him from India unto Ethiopia in 127 provinces. After that I became, so basically almost like an executive order, right? That's what Trump in modern day terms, right? It says, after that I became Lord over many nations and had dominion over the whole world, not lifted up with presumption of my authority, but carrying myself always with equity and mildness. I purpose to settle my subjects continually in a quiet life, and making my kingdom peaceable and open for passage to the utmost coasts, to renew peace, which is desired of all men. That's the same shit that Trump is pushing now. We're going to take over the Gaza Strip. We're going to bring peace. He's talking about we're going to send certain people to certain places and keep them there maybe permanently, right? Is what he said. I heard that today, right? We're going to keep them there permanently, and it's going to be safe. It's going to be nice. We're going to have houses for them. I said, oh shit, this nigga talking about camps. Okay. So we're going to tackle that soon, right? It says, verse 3, Now, when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, right? Like Zaquan, you said how now they're given access to alternative media, right? These are in the form of the counselors because they're going to give him counsel like, oh, well, these are certain things that we've noticed. What would you like? What can you do about it? And then that's an opening for vocab to come in and say, well, you said anti-Semitism is a problem in this country and it's running wild. Well, there's one way to combat it. These people are the real front, like the front and center people that push so-called anti-Sem views, right? So here we go. It says, now when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, right, bring that so-called peace to the world, Haman, that excelled in wisdom among us and was approved for his constant goodwill and steadfast fidelity, and had the honor of the second place in the kingdom, declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there were scattered a certain malicious people, right, that had laws contrary to all nations, and continually despised the commandments of kings, so as the uniting of our kingdoms honorably intended by us cannot go forward. So in other words, these Israelites are preaching something contrary to what we're saying here. Here it is. We're talking about bringing the world together under one order and all these different. These guys are saying, no, our king is going to come and destroy all this, and then he's going to take over and he's going to make us kings, and you're going to be subject to us. What? Who's saying this? The Hebrew one? Let's find out. They call themselves the who? Let's find who the fuck. you know, and that's going back to what the fear that falls upon them. Because once that our names start coming up like that, and it's more like, okay, well, let's watch them. Let's start demonizing them. The demonization campaign, like you said, Car, right? Then we're gonna start seeing the Lord stepping in with those miracles, right? It says, seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, right? So our righteous laws are strange to them, right? It says, and evil affected to our state. Listen to the verbiage, this devil, right? Working all the mischief they can that our kingdom may not be firmly established. So their gospel is a problem. Look, they're preaching hate. We're not about hate. They're preaching all these different things that we don't condone. We have to do something about this. If not, it's going to spread around the whole world, right? It says, therefore have we commanded, right? That's an order, is a law, that all they that are signified in writing unto you by Haman, who is ordained over the affairs, and is next unto us, shall all, with their wives and children, be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies, without all mercy and pity. They shall be like madmen, sparing none. Right? It says, and it says the 14th day of the 12th month Adar of this present year, that they who of old and now also are malicious, may in one day with violence go into the grave, and so ever hereafter cause our affairs to be well settled and without trouble. Okay? So that same spirit is, the Lord is going to conjure up that same spirit in them, where they're going to be like, we have an opportunity of a lifetime. This is it. And we got to make our move. But these people are in our way, and they're spoiling all of our plans. They keep telling the truth. They keep telling people about the plans we have, and now people don't believe our narratives no more. How are we going to move up with the newer order? How are we going to be able to convince these people to take the MOTB? We gotta get these people out of the way because they're blowing our spot, you know. And all we doing is just telling the truth. See, they can never call us. They'll call us all kinds of different names, but they can never say that what you guys are saying is not the truth. And that's confirmation that we got the truth. All right, but you got it, bro.
No, Salaki, I wasn't doing an add-on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought you had. I thought you were breaking up. That's why, Salaki.
Now, well, we can, close it out, but I just want to say, based off of what you just said there, and that's why when they do that, that's why they're going to have to, stop us from actually speaking, right? Because we are bringing out their plans. We're exposing what they want to do, and then linking it up into the scriptures so that the ones who hear it, they are aware of what not to do, right? In that time, not to take that MOTB. Now, one thing I was thinking about when you were saying that is the fact that, once the Lord ultimately manifests the famine of the word, or the famine of the hearing of the word, these devils at that point would use that point to now push even further or quicker, that whole agenda of the MOTB and the ones. So you're going to have that being pushed out. Now, this word about the MOTB being the CHIP has been obviously disseminated throughout the whole entire world through the internet. But you still have a lot of people who have, went through one ear out the other, right? So when that time does come, it's kind of like the juicy jab. Can't say too much about it, but a lot of, when it first came out, we were telling people, that you shouldn't X, Y, and Z. This is not medical information, but we was telling them, you shouldn't do that because X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. A lot of people, it just went through one ear out the other, and they still just took it because they were more so pressured and more so believed, right? Went down to Egypt for help and believed in the strength of Pharaoh. So when the MOTB comes out, there's not going to be any videos that are going to be out there, on the internet telling people, okay, this is the mark of the beast where the scriptures is talking about. So nobody's not going to have any contrary information to give them guidance to what this is. Only ones that's really going to know it are the ones that already do know it now, right? And then you're going to have certain people that may be around us, right, that may say, oh, you guys were talking about this. You said that this was this. I remember you said that. And that's how, the scriptures spoke about, like, then they should know that a prophet has been among you, right? Because it's going to be people that are among us that are going to be able to, that has, knowledge of who we are on a personal level, that's going to say, yo, you were talking about this and this was coming out, and what else information, what other information you got on it? And the Lord may have us be like, hey, we already said what it is. The information is already out there. Go to the sellers and buy. But it was just something I was just thinking about, and especially how JD Vance, he actually just tweeted that the now he didn't say warp speed, but I forgot exactly how he said it. But he basically said the quickness of how things are happening right now that people are seeing, because Bakar mentioned it. He said that's going to be the next 4 years, that things are going to be happening quick like this. And I believe Aharon might have mentioned it at camp the other day. I was watching a little bit of it, of how Alexander, he was moving with Kohler, right? That his feet didn't even touch the ground. It's like the Lord's bringing it all full back circle, because Alexander was, the first of the Edomites is to bring out the Edomite empire. And now the Lord willing, Trump is the last, and he moving in the same exact way. So yeah, Lord willing, it is very quickly Operation Warp Speed, these things happen. But that's it for me. Good. God. Oh, all right. So hey, we want to close it out with that. And Lord willing, this was another edifying and formative Sabbath lesson. And Lord willing, it was pleasing to the sight of Yahawashi. So with that, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kodash. So next time, shalom to the elect. Stay strong. Shalom.
Shalom. God bless you.
Shalom.